let's talk about Dallas-Cleveland. I think we got to talk about Dallas-Cleveland next. The Cowboys go into Cleveland, take care of business against the Browns 33-17. When you look at some of the top 5 graded players on both sides, as we'll start with Dallas because they got the dub, so I think that we should, out of respect. Linebacker DeMarvion Overshown, baby. Let's go. Missed all of last year with, I think it was a torn ACL that he suffered in the preseason. Major injury, whatever it was. I cannot remember exactly what it was, but he missed the entire regular season. They were really excited about him, and he goes out for the year. Top graded player for the Cowboys, 88.6. You just love to absolutely see that kind of redemption from him. Great way to start the season. Cornerback Jordan Lewis, 81.1 grade. Guard Tyler Smith with a 77.3. Linebacker Damone Clark coming in at a 77.1. And then number 5, we got cornerback Trayvon Diggs at a 76.4 PFF grade. Quarterback Dak Prescott, not his best game. 57.2, the new $240 million man. And then we flip to the other side with the Cleveland Browns. Some familiar faces here, especially at the very top. Myles Garrett doing his thing. Number 1 player on their team with a 91.2 overall grade. Juan Thornhill, their safety, with an 82.2. Guard Wyatt Teller, 79.0 at number 3. Greg Newsome at number 4 with a 78.4. And then Grant Delp at the other safety, 67.5 to round things out. Deshaun Watson, 59.5 grade on the day. Can I start with Watson? Because that's my stat that told the story here. You got to be very worried about Deshaun Watson at this point. Because I think for the longest time, Cleveland fans have been saying, well, the Houston Texan version, if we get the Houston Texan version back, if we get the Houston Texan version of Deshaun Watson back, I don't think it's coming back. Like, I don't think that there's a lot to point to say that version of Deshaun Watson is still in the cards even at this point, especially for a sustained period of time. Maybe you might get flashes here and there, but to believe that he was like the MVP caliber quarterback that he was with Houston before the injury, before the holdout, before the trade, I just don't see it with him. And especially when you look at, he hurt his shoulder last year, and then he broke his arm when he tried to kind of come back to play. He was suffering from what they called general arm soreness in training camp in the preseason. Buddy, I think that is much more worrisome than they were leading on to believe. And I think that you saw that in how he played against Dallas. He had the most dropbacks of any quarterback in week 1, 56. Yet he was just 19th in passing yards at 169. This is the part that really gets me. And if you watch the game, when Deshaun tried to open it up and really push the ball deep down the field, he was a loose cannon. I mean, the accuracy was all over the place for him. On passes of 15 yards or more down the field, this is really the stat that tells the story for me. Passes of 15 or more yards down the field, 0 for 7. He did have one drop, but a 14.3% adjusted completion percentage. He wasn't even getting it close. He wouldn't even get these passes close. We're talking 15 yards down the field. This guy's got an unprecedented amount of dead cap to his contract. They basically have to have Deshaun Watson on the team for the next 2 years, no matter what. And I just think that it's getting harder to believe that not only is the MVP caliber version of Deshaun Watson not coming back, I don't even think he's there. I don't even know if he's their best option at this point. You got Jameis Winston sitting behind him. So it's a crazy place right now for the Browns to be in, knowing how unmovable Deshaun Watson is and how he might not even be the best quarterback option for them on the team at this point.
Yeah, and I think the two things that stick out to me are the last time we saw that elite player was, 2020?
Yes.
It was 2020. It's 2024, Trevor. You don't – comebacks happen a year later. Comebacks don't happen 4 years later. And what he's shown us – you mentioned some of the grades. What he's shown us since he's been in Cleveland is backup caliber football. It's not even low-end starter, top 25 quarterback. It's backup caliber football. And if you don't – Joe Flacco came in last year and in total really played average, and they got hot and made the playoffs because the rest of the roster is really good. They need, if they're going to succeed, I mean, all they need him to be is average, and he's not even anywhere near that. And the other thing for me, that I knew you were going on the Watson rant, so I picked just a different thing to tell the story, but the Nick Chubb injury is looming over him too. It is. You've got Jerome Ford and Pierre Strong Jr. combined for 14 carries and 54 yards. The Browns only ran 6 design run plays in the first half. So we're refusing to run the ball, and we're making a quarterback who's playing backup caliber football try to carry us. Neither of those things it's not going to work. Mm-hmm. We can't call 6 run plays in the first, especially against Dallas. What does Dallas want to do? They want you to throw the ball. They have Parsons. They have Lawrence. They have the secondary. They have Diggs. They have Mike Zimmer drawing stuff up. Dallas wants you to sit back and throw the ball and play 7-on-7. If you're going to beat Dallas, you have to run right at them. And the Browns basically just refused to do that early in the game, and they fell behind, and then they couldn't do it. So the combination of Watson's struggles, to put it nicely, and Nick Chubb's injury and him not being out there, it's not good because, look, they gave up 33 points in this game. Last year, Cleveland's defense in Cleveland at home was the best defense in football. Mm-hmm. They can't sustain that if their offense is going to play like this. You're right. It's just not possible.
What about most impressive, most disappointing for you in this game?
Let me get those Dallas linebackers you mentioned, and it was something we noticed that maybe it could be a weakness on this team. They have great pass rushers and they have great secondary. What's in between them? I love the way that they played. DeMarvion Overshown, like you mentioned, 88.6 overall, 11 tackles and a sack. Eric Kendricks, 71.9 overall, 9 tackles, 2 sacks, and an interception. That's defensive player of the week type stuff, at least with the traditional stats, right? And then Damone Clark, kind of being used as this third coverage linebacker, 77.1 overall grade, 20 coverage snaps, and no receptions allowed. I think Mike Zimmer is finding a groove with these 3 guys at linebacker, whether he plays 2 of them or he plays 3 of them at a time, or they're in different packages or they're blitzing. I really like what we saw from those guys in this game, especially going against a really good offensive line in the run game. All 3 of them were flying around the field making plays, and they deserve a lot of credit because I think a lot of people saw their linebackers as a weakness on their defense.
So the most impressive that I have in this one is Micah Parsons. 11 total pressures? Nuts. It's a single game. That's crazy.
He's just silly.
11 total pressures is nuts. 20.8 pass rush win percentage, which is crazy as well. The overall pass rush numbers weren't as high as it was for like Watt or Garrett this week. They'll be there. Don't worry about it.
He's Micah Parsons. Yeah.
And then the most disappointing, Prescott was going up against a really good defense in Cleveland, obviously playing at home. You mentioned how great they are at home. Really good secondary, obviously really good front as well. But I just don't think he looked as sharp. He is, in particular, I thought could have had a much better game. He had 2 turnover-worthy plays, which were throws that he was late on or the accuracy was bad there. Adjusted completion percentage was below 70%. Again, it's a tough defense. I'm not saying that like he had the worst game of his career or anything, but Prescott did not play particularly well in this game. I think the Cowboys are sort of lucky that Deshaun Watson also did not play great in this game, and they had nothing else to lean on the offensive side of things. And for Dallas, I think they just had a lot more help around their quarterback. So Prescott, not his best start out of the gate, but I think that he will be fine moving forward.